Okay, welcome to everyone just hopping on. We'll go ahead and get started with our workshop today. I don't know about you, but I have a busy Tuesday, so I want to respect your time. This is SCORE Southwest Missouri's Tuesdays at 2 webinar series. Our webinar today is how to create effective marketing emails that grow your customer base. And our presenter is Sarah Reimer. She's the owner of Creative Assets LLC, and I'll introduce Sarah in just a moment. My name is Katie Pattison. I am the workshop chair for SCORE Southwest Missouri. I manage the Schweitzer-Brentwood branch of the Springfield Greene County Library and coordinate business resources for the library. Speaking of that, this workshop is presented in partnership with the Springfield Greene County Library. The library offers resources for your business. We have market and consumer research databases. If you've heard of what used to be called Reference USA, it's now called Reference Solutions, where you can do market research, get sales leads, mailing lists, all kinds of really cool stuff with that. We have meeting and co-working spaces. We have a maker space that has a vinyl cutter, laser engraver, heat press, some AV equipment, and of course, books, audiobooks, newspapers, and magazines in print and digital format. And we do workshops both in partnership with SCORE and standalone for businesses and entrepreneurs. So I hope you'll check those out. You can see all of the library's resources at thelibrary.org/business. I want to start with telling you a little bit about SCORE before we turn it over to Sarah. SCORE is a nationwide nonprofit that is here for you for the life of your business. SCORE offers mentoring and resources that can support you from idea to exit. There are 3 things I want you to remember that SCORE can do for you. SCORE provides free business advice and mentoring. You can get yourself a SCORE mentor if you don't have one. We offer low or no cost business training. And if you haven't visited the SCORE website and seen the multitude of business templates and resources there, definitely check that out. You can find lots of on-demand trainings and recorded trainings on the SCORE website as well. The national SCORE website is score.org. Just a few plugs for some of our upcoming workshops here in Southwest Missouri. We have actually one this evening, retirement planning for small business owners with Rashad Taylor from Country Financial. That's going to be tonight at the Library Center. There is a virtual option for that as well if you prefer to attend virtually at 7 p.m. You can register for that at swmissouri.score.org if you'd like to join us, or just show up and I'll get you registered when you get there. We also have our next Tuesdays at 2 coming up on the 26th of April. That is, who is your target market? Probably another topic of interest for those of you who are interested in today's topic. That'll be with Mackenzie Scherer, who's the owner of Brogue Site Website Design. 26, 2 p.m. virtual. And then one more thing I want to plug. So SCORE offers a workshop series called Simple Steps for Starting Your Business. It's kind of like startup boot camp, I think. We're going to do that all in one day this year. So it's going to be a great day. It'll be Saturday, May 14th, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Schweitzer-Brentwood Branch Library in Springfield. SCORE will provide lunch. The content of that includes startup basics, business concept, marketing plan, financial projections, funding sources. We have 5 different presenters with specialty knowledge in those categories. We do have limited space. There is no virtual option for this one. So if you are interested in that, you'll want to head over to swmissouri.score.org and get yourself registered. I think it's about half full right now, so there's still a little space left if you want to join us. You'll go home with lots of resources to help you kind of make that go or no go decision for your business that you might be starting. And everything SCORE does is done with volunteers. We have over 10,000 volunteers serving clients in over 1,500 communities. You may have some expertise that could benefit the business community. Maybe you'd like to be a SCORE mentor. Maybe you just want to make some connections in the business community. SCORE, being involved in SCORE is a great way to do that. Please reach out to me in the chat if you're interested, or visit swmissouri.score.org and click on volunteer. Here is that information one more time, score.org/volunteer. Here's our local SCORE chapter website, swmissouri.score.org. And let's go ahead and introduce our presenter for today. So Sarah Reimer is an accomplished and highly versatile graphic designer and marketer with 20 years of experience in the industry. She's the owner of Creative Assets LLC, a graphic design and marketing management business that works directly with various clients to develop impactful, lead generating digital and print marketing campaigns. Successfully building her business from the ground up, she's passionate about teaching other business owners graphic design, marketing strategies they need to succeed. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Katie. Welcome, everybody. Glad you could join.
I'll stop sharing my screen here and turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining today. As Katie mentioned, I'm Sarah Reimer. I'm the owner of Creative Assets LLC, and I'm based outside of Branson, Missouri. So email marketing can be a highly effective communication channel, but making sure those emails get into your customers' email inboxes can be a tricky business with spam filters. So today I'm going to present to you how to create effective marketing emails that grow your customer base and some key email ingredients that can build credibility and trust with your potential customers and encourages your customers to open those emails, to interact with those emails so that they avoid all of those common spam traps. So, as far as our agenda for today, we're going to start off with an introduction. Whose idea was this anyways? We're going to talk a little bit about email marketing history and set the stage in discussing those key ingredients. Then we'll dig in with list targets. Why does list quality matter? Followed by subject lines, which I call your first line of defense for an email. Followed by content, curating the right content so it reaches your right target audience. Layout, the importance of visual hierarchy, and this is where sort of the graphic design part comes into play. Timing, how are you seen at the right time? When's the best time to send an email? What times a day? What days of the week are the best times? And then we'll close with a Q&A session where we can answer any of your questions that you have as I go along here. So first off, we're going to get into a little bit of email marketing history. I'm kind of a trivia person, a history buff. So whose idea was this anyways in terms of email marketing? And I'm going to start with a fun trivia question for you. So question is, in what year was the first commercial email sent by computer? So is it answer 1958, 1978, or 1994? I'm going to give you a second to think about that. And the correct answer is 1978. If you got that right, excellent job. So in 1978, a gentleman named by Gary Thurk sent the first unsolicited commercial email, and he was given the title Father of Spam. But it wasn't until the early to late 1990s, when the internet was really taking off, that the modern spam industry was born. So email marketing, spam, it's been around for decades, and the landscape has changed with email spam filters getting smarter. So how do we avoid becoming a Gary and making sure those emails get delivered to your customers' email inboxes and getting interacted with? Let's dig a little bit more into our agenda for today. So list targets. Why does list quality matter? Well, it matters a lot. When it comes to spam filters, it's really important that we stick with lists of people that have opted in to receive our emails. And let's get into purchase lists a little bit. Purchase lists are emails lists that are collected by third parties. So you might be familiar with those. And the CAN-SPAM Act of 2003 was put in place to protect email users and email marketers from unsolicited emails. And you could really face some hefty fines here if you get caught doing this. Sometimes it could be around $43,000 per offense. So that's why it's important that we opt in or get opt-in permission from people to add them to our lists. Now, there are some comparable acts to the CAN-SPAM Act law in Canada and Europe as well. With this being said, some email platforms like MailChimp, Constant Contact, I mean, they're really cracking down on purchase lists, and a lot of times they won't even let you upload a purchase list to their platforms, and they could potentially suspend your account as a result. So again, you only want to include people that have given you permission to email them. So how do you do this? How do you build a quality list from scratch or add to your existing list? One way is word of mouth, a real tried and true method. When I first started my business 6 years ago, I told everybody about it. I told former colleagues, I told family, I told friends. And I also networked with fellow professionals and asked them if I could add them to my email list for upcoming emails. And then I also, something you want to make sure of is that when you ask somebody is to make sure that you get whitelisted. So that allows you to be an approved sender from an email platform or server. So that makes sure that your email does not wind up in a spam folder to begin with. Another way to collect potential customer emails is including an opt-in pop-up on your website. And you've probably seen these. They are windows that pop up when you arrive on a web page with an offer typically. And I typically, when I use these pop-ups, I put them like at a specific time frame. Sometimes you can time them specifically to pop up at a certain time, or even as individuals navigate away from a page, you can have these pop up. So rather than having it pop immediately as they land on the website, I have some opt-in methods here. They can complete a form to opt in to your email list. It's a great way. Another way is a downloadable offer. And I really, really believe in this quite a bit. Maybe there's something that your business can offer to a potential customer for free. Maybe it's a guide or white paper. Maybe it's a deal that you could offer. I have one client that I'm actually working with that sells undeveloped and developed rural properties in California. And he wants to target home buyers that are interested in moving out of the city and into the country. And something I suggested to him was developing a helpful guide for those potential buyers on things to consider when you move into a country, into country home, things to consider when you're building a home in the country. And to download this guide, they are going to be pushed to a landing page that's associated with his website that has a form to download the guide, but then also has an opt-in to receive more information in the future from the business. So that's another great way, is a downloadable offer that your audience might be interested in. Something else important to do is leverage your social media. So if you have social media channels established already for your business, use those to build your list. So encourage social followers to sign up for your emails and to mention that downloadable offer too, if it's something that you think that they would really be interested in. Subject lines, your first line of defense. So I consider the first line of defense be subject lines, and it's something I really pay attention to when crafting an email. So not only do subject lines serve as a key indicator for spam filters, they do check those. It is also a first thing that your potential customer will read. And it's an opportunity to really engage your customer quickly and encourage those clicks to open. So phrases here like lose weight fast, double your income, those are real surefire ways you're going to land up in the spam filter. So when creating a subject line, craft one that creates a sense of urgency or curiosity. Something like, don't wait, last chance to save, or maybe something related to your business. Maybe it's e-commerce, for websites, e-commerce stats you should care about. Creating something of interest that's going to want them to interact with your email. Keep it short and personalized wherever possible. This is very important. In terms of length, 30 to 50 characters is ideal for a subject line. And personalization goes a long way in terms of interactions and opens. So personalization in terms of first name, you've probably seen that before. You received an email with your first name in the subject line. That's a great way to personalize, but also by interest or location. In terms of location, I had a client of mine that targeted potential customers living in Lincoln and Omaha, Nebraska. So depending on where that customer lived, they mentioned that city in their subject lines. So that's a way to personalize as well. And don't use weird spacing, caps, or special fonts. Here's an example of this. difference between a good subject line and a spam alert subject line. So sentence case without punctuation performs the best. In all caps with excessive punctuation and that spam alert example below are, surefire triggers. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of these types of emails before that have landed in your spam folders, very similar. A growing trend that we're seeing are emojis, or those icons that are in subject lines. And those are great. Those really help to keep your email, out in front, separated from all the other emails. But I suggest those sparingly and making sure that those are relevant, and don't be too excessive with those. Content, curing the right content here. So another trivia question for you. Sorry, I love trivia. What percentage of consumers have marked emails as spam because of receiving too many emails or irrelevant emails? I'll give you a second to think. Is it 15%, 34%, or 57%? Correct answer is 57%. So this is really important when it comes to content. Content definitely can trigger spam folders. So when I look for content to include in a marketing email, I think of topics like, are they relevant to my audience? I think that's really important. A wide variety of individuals receive my company emails. So I typically choose pretty broad topics that are trending in graphic design and marketing, and I talk to them about that. Last month, for instance, I sent an email on NFTs. That's a really hot trend right now. And so I explained in my email what they are, how they relate to graphic design in general, and also included some information on new services that I offer. And some company milestones are nice to include as well. So communicate instead of market, which relates to relevant content in a sense, but delivering content without sounding too salesy. I think you kind of know what I mean. This is a real chance to start a dialogue with your potential customer. So really educate your customers on a product. Maybe there's a new product that you have that would really help solve a problem for them. Talk about their pain points. Talk about the ways that you can help solve them with a product or service that you offer. And tell your potential customers what you care about. I think that's something really important too, is to really build a relationship, a discussion dialogue with your potential customer. Match the tone with your company voice. This is also important. So it gives your potential customer a feel for how you do business by tone, by the voice you use in your email content, and what they can expect in doing business with you. So being polite and sincere are great places to start. Keeping positive, keeping that front and center at all times. Making sure you pay attention to proofing, grammar, punctuation, spelling, sentence structure. Those are all things to keep in mind and watch, because that shows how much you care about your message to your customers and how you'll be treating them. Mind your length. This is a really good one. So I'm sure you've received some emails in the past that seem to just go and go and go, and there's a lot of content. Minding your length is very important for that. If it's too long, if your email's too long, there's a good chance that your potential customer is going to miss something really important. So I generally keep my emails around 250 words or less. And I always feel like less is better because we're very busy a lot of times. We're just kind of scrolling through emails sometimes. So less is better as long as you can get your message across. Okay, on to layout, the importance of hierarchy. So this is what kind of where you get to into the design portion of your email. So establishing relationships between visual elements. Now this guides a reader's journey, the way it's visually laid out. And with our fast, busy paced lives, this is important because why? Because our brains focus on a few details and tend to ignore the rest. So decide what are the most important aspects of your email that you want your potential customer to act on, and then develop your visual hierarchy from there. So examples of visual hierarchy are size. Maybe there's a real important element, you want to have stand out to attract attention. So making that bigger on your email. Alignment, grouping elements into like a bulleted list so it's kind of easy to skim. That's another way to build visual hierarchy. And I use this one often when it's some real top points that I want to get across quickly. White space. Love white space. So spacing out, showing visual space, white space in between each element helps to visually separate elements. It kind of gives your mind a breather, gives the customer's mind a breather, and just kind of helps you organize it a little bit better visually. So consider reading patterns and how we read. We primarily read from top to bottom, but there is some variation in how we read horizontally. We'll read in either Z or an F pattern. So consider these patterns in presenting your email content and deciding what's important visually and what to include in your hierarchy. Including clear CTA buttons, or what I say call to action buttons. So what is it that you want your potential customer to do ultimately? Do you want them to make an appointment or get more information? So including these important call to action buttons on your email are going to really improve your email's effectiveness to be able to drive your business and to get people to do exactly what you want them to do, which is the ultimate goal. All right, timing, being seen at the right time. So what are the best days to send emails? I have found, at least for my customers, sending emails Tuesdays through Thursdays tend to be the best in terms of engagement, of opens and clicks. You know, most folks aren't typically checking their emails on the weekends. Maybe they are, but for my customers, they're typically not. Mondays, we all know how Mondays are, you know, getting back into the groove, back into the work groove and trying to just, you know, get things done. Fridays, you're thinking about the weekend. So probably not a really good time to be sending an email. In terms of what time, I feel like a lot of factors can play into this, and it's really best to think about your potential customer and what they could be doing at that certain time of the day. So I have found, at least for my sweet spots for my customers, are between 10 to 11 a.m. and 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. From 10 to 11, folks are in work mode and they're checking their emails quite often. And between 3:30 and 4:30, they're gearing down for the day. They're cleaning up their email inboxes for the next day. So those tend to be kind of the best times, at least for my customers. What I do too is I analyze open results and I adjust typically after 1 to 3 days after that email launches to check for trends, timing, and make any adjustments for future emails. And then I also make sure to check the competitors. A real good thing to do is get on some of those email lists of your competitors to kind of see what they're doing. Check timing to kind of see what their content is and see what you could do better. I've done that before for clients, and that works out really well to kind of get some additional insights on that. So in summary, in a wrap up here, quick wrap up, build that quality list for your emails. Don't rely on purchased. Develop those catchy, short subject lines to encourage audience engagement, encourage those opens so that as they interact with those, that they don't go to spam folders. Curate that relevant communicative content. Don't have that salesy approach. Make sure to have a good dialogue with your potential customer. Create that visual hierarchy with those clear CTA buttons and determine the best email schedule for your audience by analyzing results and checking those competitors. And that's it, everybody. We can certainly get into Q&A if there's any questions I can help answer.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sarah. We do have one question in the chat already, but I just want to encourage everyone to add your questions to the chat now, or maybe you have some personal experiences that you can share that would benefit the audience. We've got plenty of time for Q&A today. So we'll go ahead and dive right into that. So let's start with Rochelle's question. Rochelle is a licensed counselor and hates the fact that she can't send emails to remind clients that she's here for referral purposes. She says that she's been advised by another therapist that if Constant Contact, for instance, was hacked, that their emails could be compromised and she could be charged with a HIPAA violation. She wonders if you had any experience with that, Sarah. She feels like they ought to be able to opt in, but she wasn't sure how that might look.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think around that. HIPAA laws can be really, really tricky when it comes to people's information. Yeah, I mean, I would suggest for any of those people, yeah, if you can get an opt-in, that's the best. I would see why, especially if it's information, like appointment reminder information, that doesn't seem very personal. Is that right? They're for appointment reminders.
See if she can pop in there.
Yeah. So if it's not something, real.
Oh, she was thinking for newsletters, she says.
Oh, for newsletters. Yeah, for that, I wouldn't see that being a HIPAA violation because you're not talking about anything personal. So if that's something you can collect, maybe it's a patient that comes to check in. If that's something you can collect for them to opt in, that they would like to receive more informational things, I would think that would be a good way around that. And then if they can provide an email address and making sure that they, whitelist you as well. So I think that would be the best way, and hopefully I answered that question.
Great. Oh, Brent says that he's an LPC and can give some direction in that. Rochelle, you should definitely meet with Brent. He has coffee with people all the time. Brent's been a presenter for our Tuesdays at 2 before.
Perfect.
Yeah, opting in, good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul has a question. How does one evaluate and choose the best platform to organize, remind, track, and follow up on the email marketing process?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think it kind of depends. I use MailChimp and it works really well. It's very intuitive, very easy. I think it's best to kind of just maybe do a little research. I know there's so many out there to choose from, but I prefer MailChimp. I know my account is free right now. I think there's a limit. I think maybe there's I don't know if it's 1,000 contacts, I want to say. But yeah, I use some of the free platforms for now. And in some cases, you have most of the tools at your disposal for that. And then if you end up wanting to get additional tools, you can pay more. So I think it really depends on what you'd like to do to start out. If you want to use any of the free platforms, feel free. But yeah, maybe do a little research. But yeah, I think MailChimp's a good one, Constant Contact. If you want to get more to the broader marketing where you're doing more automation and segmenting, there's some bigger ones like HubSpot. That's a pretty big one. It's kind of a full-blown marketing platform. That one can get a little bit expensive. So if you want to start out small, something like MailChimp or Constant Contact might be a good way to go.
Great. All right, Steve has a question. What email is good to use to get through spam filters? For example, is Gmail effective?
I think a lot of it are people expecting your email and they're familiar with your email, with your address itself. I send a lot of my emails from my Gmail account, but I think because people know who I am, helps. So I don't know if it's necessarily the platform or whether it's a Yahoo or an Outlook, email address. I think more so it's important that people are expecting your email and are familiar with email. So if you send emails to people before and they've interacted with them, even if it's a totally different email, like a hello, how's it going kind of email, you should be fine because they've interacted with it before and opened it before.
Okay.
So hopefully that answers your question.
Any other questions for Sarah? Well, we've got her here. I always think when you're talking, talking in front of a group that they say to allow 9 to 15 seconds, but when it's in a Zoom, they have to type it out. So
right.
Longer. All right, Mark's got a question. What does a basic budget package look like for your services? Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your business too? Just sort of what you do?
Yeah. So backgrounds in graphic design, but I also have direct marketing experience. So it's the combination of the two. Yeah, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, like you said earlier. And as far as, packages, I don't really have packages per se. I'm happy to have a discussion with anyone if they have a specific project to discuss. And what that might entail. And it really depends. I have some clients I charge by the hour. I have some that I'm on retainer with. I have some that I bill per project. So, I mean, I can really tailor it, based on what your goals are. I can help put together an estimate. So, my website address is at the bottom of the last slide there. So feel free if you would like to go to my website. I do have a form to fill out. If you would like to discuss a project, I'm happy to help and talk about what you would like to do and put together an estimate. So yeah, it runs the gamut. I also have some portfolio samples on there too of the work that I've done in the past for graphic design. And I have a case study on there for graphic design and a marketing project I worked on.
Thanks. Steve had another question. How many pictures are good to use?
That's a good question. Sometimes that can be interesting. And I always kind of say, test it out. I've seen some really great emails that are just one image, actually, and some that incorporate text and images. But I would suggest blending the two, a combination of some text and images. I kind of keep around like maybe 2 images on an email with some supporting text, and that seems to work out pretty well. But something that's just, a picture, be a little careful on, because sometimes I don't always come through on email platforms. So yeah, I would say a combination, text and a couple images would be good.
I wonder if you know if there are any, you mentioned what you have found among your clients as the best kind of days and times to
hmm
send out emails. Do you know of any sort of industry specific reports or data or studies or anything like that for folks who may be in kind of different industries?
Yeah, it kind of depends. Like I mentioned before, I think it just depends on your client, your target audience, like what they could be doing, where they're at throughout their days. And some industries are, seasonal, so that can kind of play an effect too. I think the overall rule of thumb, though, is to kind of keep it during, middle of the week. How I mentioned, Tuesday through Thursday and those certain times of the day. I think that's a good place to start, but, it can vary by industry. So I would suggest, running a test. You send your first email, during those times and kind of see how it does and then make some adjustments. Maybe you got, more clicks on a certain time of the day, and so maybe you just focus on that certain time of the day for next time. So, yeah, run a test, kind of see what happens and make
Hmm.
some adjustments from there based on the activity.
Okay, very good. Um, if you have any other questions, go ahead and post them in the chat now. Justin is asking, are you new to Southwest Missouri? I suspect Justin knows the answer to that, but are you new to Southwest Missouri?
I am somewhat new. Gosh, I've been in the area for about 6 years now. I lived in Denver, Colorado for about 13 years and moved to the area, and I love it. I love it out here. I live near Table Rock Lake. So I ended up, switching the mountains for the lake, which was really, really nice. But I love it here. I am fairly new, and yeah, it's great. I'm so happy to meet a lot of you here.
Okay. I don't have any new questions in the chat. So last chance, everybody, to post those while we wrap it up here. So we will, this session was recorded, and so we will send that recording out in a follow-up email that includes Sarah's contact information if you'd like to follow up with her with questions. And I hope that we will see some of you all at our session this evening at the Library Center. Retirement for small business owners looks a little different than it does for those of us working in public service. One more question from Steve before we wrap it up. What are the best ways to get whitelisted?
The best ways to get whitelisted. I think just making sure when you, ask for, opt in, something to make sure is to just mention to the person that's opting in, make sure to whitelist me. And usually they take that information to their email provider. Like I have one client, some clients that are in higher education, for instance. And so they're sending emails from an email server from the university. And so that one could be set really high, in terms of spam. A lot can get kind of caught in there. So it's making sure that, wherever their server is, hey, I'm expecting emails from this individual, so can we add this to our whitelist? I know even some spam filters, if you check into your spam filter sometime, you'll see emails in there, and maybe you were expecting those emails, so making sure that you check those, that they go straight to your inbox for future is important too. So I think those are kind of a few ways you can, help circumvent and be able to get whitelisted.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you everyone for your time today. Sarah, huge thank you for sharing your time and expertise with us. Watch for our follow-up email from SCORE with the recording and Sarah's contact info so you can follow up if you have any more questions. I hope we'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.